Hello everybody, welcome back to the great state of Montana. This is the Carbine Cowboy coming to you. Hey, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to be doing some patterning of different shot shell loads for our duck season that's going to be coming up here, and I think it starts about the end of September. So we just thought we'd do a quick little video on it. One of the shotguns that we are going to be using today is the Mossberg Model 500 turkey gun. This poor shotgun I bought in Florida back in 1990. I think I paid about $250 for it brand new. This one has a 24-inch barrel. The choke on it is a steel full. And we're going to be trying some different have-a-shot loads and steel shot loads to it to see which one gives us the best pattern on the target at reasonable waterfowl distances of 20 and 40 yards. So I'm going to turn this over to Montana Mountain Man, let him talk to you about the shot and all that he has purchased and what he's going to use in the 12 and in the 10 gauge, and we're going to pattern both of them for you. So with that, sit back and enjoy.
This is heavy metal 3-inch number 2 shot 1 1/4 ounce out of the Mossberg 12 gauge. At 20 yards.
Well, as you can tell, that pattern looks pretty tight. I can't see anything wrong with that per se. At that distance, which would be predominantly over decoys, I don't see anything wrong with that. I've never fired the heavy metal. I fired just straight steel shot. But that pattern looks pretty tight to me. So we'll continue on. Again, that was the heavy metal 12 gauge 1 1/4 ounce of number 2. So we'll see how the rest of them do.
This is Black Cloud 10 gauge, 3.5 inch, 1 5/8 ounce, Black Cloud, double BB, 20 yards.
Looks pretty tight to me. It looks like there might be 1 or 2 gaps in there towards the bottom. But a lot of that can be adjusted by choke. That's a full choke that's in there. Sometimes if you open the choke up a little bit to like a modified, it makes the pattern a little more rounded. But other than that, for 20 yards, that's pretty tight.
Look where the wad went through the box. This is Remington Nitro Steel 10 gauge, 3.5 inch, 1 3/4 ounce, double BB, out of a 10 gauge, 20 yards.
Now, as you can tell, the difference between the Black Cloud and the Remington Nitro Steel, you can see how the pattern is a little more uniform. With steel shot or steel shot substitutes, you will find by trying different brands of shells through a particular gun, you will find you will get different types of patterns. Some shotguns, like rifles and handguns, just do prefer some brands of factory ammunition over another. The other way you can do it is by adjusting the choke in the gun. Sometimes by using a little more open choke, you get a little better pattern. But as you can tell, between the Black Cloud and the Remington, you can see the difference in the pattern and the way it patterns on the board.
Alright, this is a 12 gauge heavy metal that we just shot earlier, but now at 40 yards.
Well, now as you can tell, that Mossberg 12 gauge 3-inch with the heavy metal number 2 at 1500 feet a second at 40 yards kind of starts to open up just a little bit. But that is about the maximum range for steel shot or a steel shot substitute on waterfowl, to me anyway, is about 40 yards. It doesn't carry the weight nor the energy of the old lead shot. And as you can tell, when it starts getting out there, the pattern really starts to open up. So that would be okay for shooting large ducks over decoys. But for your smaller birds, your teal, your wood ducks, and your widgeon, pattern's starting to get a little thin in some places, which could cause a cripple. But other than that, that's not too bad.
This is the 10 gauge black cloud load that I shot earlier, and now the 40.
Now, as you can tell, that was fired out of a 3.5-inch 10 gauge at 40 yards, full choke. You can see how much that pattern dispersed, and you can see how blotchy that pattern is. I am not impressed with that pattern, and against geese or duck, that would have caused quite a few cripples. Now he will try the Remington Nitro steel Magnum in the 3.5-inch, 1.25 ounce of number 2 steel, and I think you're going to see a dramatic difference between the two.
We thought this black cloud should do a little bit better for the price of the ammunition. So we're going to do one more shot at 40 yards to see how it patterns up. So far, I'm not impressed. That's a lot better.
Well, as you can tell, that did a little better than what it did the first time around. That is a little better. That would be okay against a goose, but as you can tell on the right side of the target, you have but 1 or 2 pellets. That's why I'm a firm believer in the fact that when I tell people, when using shot for waterfowl, duck or goose, the bigger the shot you use, the fewer the pellets you have. So I try to kind of find a happy medium. I use a number 2 steel for most all of my duck and goose hunting, and I limit my shots to about 35 yards. I'm not saying that you cannot knock one down at 40, but as you can tell, as your pattern starts to get out there, it really starts to disperse. The other problem that you have is you have to also figure that most of those pellets may not penetrate the dense, thick feathers of a duck or goose. They are pretty tough birds, and their feathers are really dense. So you have to also take that into consideration. These are just some points that we wanted to bring to you, and we hope you enjoyed it, and we hope it gives people a little more insight to the patterning of a shotgun at different distances.
Now this is the Remington Nitro steel as shot earlier, double BB, but now 40 yards.
As you can tell, even the mighty 10 gauge, once you start reaching out there with your larger size shot, you can start to see how your pattern starts to disperse. That's at 40 yards. So what I try to tell people when waterfowling or bird hunting, whichever gun you're going to carry with whichever manufacturer of factory loaded ammunition, lead or steel, to make sure you pattern your shotgun at given distances so you know what kind of pattern to expect. Because nothing is more frustrating than knocking a bird down and not being able to retrieve it, knowing later on it will die. Even though this pattern is still a little blotchy, I think it still did a little better than the black cloud. Not great, but a little better. So you guys can make up your own mind. From the great state of Montana, this is the Carbine Cowboy and Montana Mountain Man saying, see you next time.